All right, I'd love to see everyone's faces, but I understand if not everyone is camera ready. I guess I'm just used to, what am I doing? Someone was trying to join and I'm trying to let them join. Oh, you know
Oh,
what? I think they were joining from somewhere else. So hopefully they're
oh,
joining from hopefully they'll figure out they need to join from the link. But
yeah.
okay. Hey, Fanta. Hello, hello. See, if we delay a little bit longer, we might get a few more people, Blakely. Maybe. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started because I'm sure you guys have other stuff and classes to go to and all that stuff. Well, my name is Lindsay, Lindsay Seider. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here. I love to talk, as you can see, and I love people. And I just passed my dietetics exam, so I am a dietitian, registered dietitian nutritionist. To me, it's really important to add that in, you guys, because working with the low income population like I do at WIC, they may not always know what a registered dietitian is, but nutritionist is kind of in the vocabulary. It's a very common term. So sometimes I'll use licensed nutritionist so they know that maybe that implies people are not always licensed because lots of people want to do our jobs and they're not really qualified to do our jobs, but that's a whole nother side story. But I am a dietitian and I'm also a certified lactation counselor, and I work at Cobb and Douglas Public Health in the WIC department. And my role here is the peer counselor supervisor. So most of what I do is I counsel breastfeeding moms and I also help run the peer counseling program here. So when we get into WIC, you'll learn a little bit more about the peer counseling program. It's a separate grant funded program. So we work parallel with WIC and we're WIC employees. We just have our own budget and we have our own requirements that we follow. Any questions so far? Did I lose anyone? No, okay. And I've got a McKiri, so hopefully I said your name right. Welcome, welcome, McKiri.
Hello.
Hey, okay. You guys feel free to turn your camera on so it's not just me and Blakely, you know. It is all good. Okay. So I know we wanted to talk a little bit about me. I feel like I did my spiel about my job. Background story. So for the longest time, up until I was about 19, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. And when I went to college, I started out at Georgia Perimeter, which now is owned by Georgia State, which is funny because I got my associates and then Georgia State bought Perimeter. So yeah, so I basically have 2 degrees from Georgia State. So I have my associates and I have my bachelor's, and it's the DPD. Hey Shanika, hey Shanika, Shanika's my boss as well. She's our breastfeeding coordinator. So I've got Shanika and Elisa here. They're from my agency, you guys. So if you see some people here you don't recognize, they're just coming supporting me and offering some guidance if we have any questions about Cobb and Douglas WIC per se that I can't answer. So
Okay.
anyways, back to me. Hey, Celine. See, this is the key, Blakely. We just wait. College students are late, right? We just wait a little bit. And we haven't gotten into the nitty-gritty yet. But um, so you know about my education, and then I really went from wanting to be a lawyer into dietetics when I realized I just didn't want to be in school. Like I didn't want to have to get a master's and be in school forever. I wanted to move out of my parents' house and move forward with my life. And so I was able to do that. And I've always had a passion with dietetics because I was a chunky kid. So I'm going to share my screen. Um, this was a picture. I'm gonna see if I can make it bigger for you guys. Okay, if I can move that, I'm gonna share it. Can you guys see that? Thumbs up. Perfect. So this was part of my personal statement for the internship. So this picture right here on the right was taken in 2004. I don't even think I was a teenager yet. And then this picture on the left, that's my husband and I on our wedding day. So I really took an interest in dietetics around the age of 13, and didn't necessarily go about it the right way for the first year and a half. But as I grew and matured, I realized just those simple things, eating healthy, walking, they make a lot of difference. So I remember being 140 at 14, and I'm only 5'2" and a half. I must have been like 5 feet. So that was a lot for someone who's itty bitty. So I wasn't feeling my best and definitely getting picked on. So that I just took an interest, and then over time I did lose the weight. So in 2 years, I think I had gone down to 110. And then now I have all this knowledge. I don't think I was doing it the right way. But as I grew and became 17, 18, 19, really took an interest in dietetics. And then when I got to college, that's kind of where I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. So I got my associates and then my bachelor's. And I went to Georgia State. So I was where you guys were back in, so I finished perimeter like 20, when did I finish perimeter? 2012. I finished and got my associate 2012, 2013, and then I transferred to Georgia State and I got into the DPD program there, their bachelorette program, which I don't think they have. I think they just have their CP program, right? Are you guys all in the CP program? Hi, Miriam. Just noticed you
No,
did.
most of us are not in the program. Most of us are undergrad nutrition
Just the
wanting to go into
bachelor.
CP.
Yeah, just the bachelor.
Yeah.
And when I was there, they only take um, Gladys is at Starbucks, y'all. Okay, Gladys, where's our coffee? You need to like magically give us some coffee here. Um, Anyway, so yeah, when I was there, they took like 8 students into their master's program. So hopefully they opened a few more spots. But just hang in there, guys, and really do a good job in your classes. I know that they look at GPA, but also if you know GPA is not your strong suit, invest in those curricular activities like the Nutrition Student Network. Take on some leadership roles. Add that to your resume. I know that Georgia State does look at that as well. All right. Any questions about my personal backstory? I'm an open book. Feel free to use the chat. Okay, moving right along. I'm going to share this PowerPoint just about the WIC program because I know Blakely said that you guys don't know too much about the WIC program. Let's see. I'm not the most versed in WebEx, but I'm getting there. Can you guys see this? All right. Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. So the WIC program, WIC stands for Women, Infants, and Children. It is a nutrition assistance program and it's definitely different than some of your other traditional nutrition assistance programs. And I'm talking mostly about SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, aka food stamps, right? We all used to know what food stamps is. So that's changed to SNAP. And their major difference between SNAP and WIC is WIC offers, you have to do nutrition education in order to receive benefits, and you have to only get healthy foods. So that is a major difference. We are not an entitlement program. Not everyone that qualifies for WIC can receive services. There is a limit. Now, right now, the caseload, most places can take more people on, but just because you qualify doesn't mean you're going to start getting benefits. It's not like Social Security. So once you find out you qualify, you have to go to your local health department and sign up for the program, or you can go to some place called, I have it on here, Georgia Gateway. And you can kind of put your information on there, but it's still best for you to go to your local health department to get services. So it's really important when you guys move forward in your nutrition career, if you're interested in working for a nutrition assistance program, that you take a look at WIC, because WIC is a great opportunity for dietitians in particular because of the WIC dietetic internship. And not all states offer that internship, you guys. I didn't find that out until later on. I just happened to be in a state where we have a wonderful internship coordinator and director at the state level, and she runs it. A lot of states don't offer it. So that is a pathway if you don't get into the CP program at Georgia State, or I think Life University offers it. As far as I know, UGA offers it. There's not many in the state that offer those dietetic internships with the master's. So you could get a master's separately and then come work for WIC, and you may qualify for the Georgia WIC dietetic internship. So that's a great place to be if you're interested in dietetics, is to join WIC. So what is WIC? WIC is a public health and nutrition intervention program funded by the USDA. The purpose is to promote a healthy lifestyle through counseling, support, referrals, and access to healthy foods. And our target population, well, it's right in the title. So if we go back to WIC, women, infants, and children. So it's low-income pregnant women, low-income postpartum women, low-income infants, low-income children up to the age of 5. And fun fact, even if you sign up for WIC and you lose your baby, we can still offer those benefits up into 6 months. So low income, what does that mean? Typically, I think anywhere from 100 to 185% the poverty limit. So that's what they mean by low income. And I did have to look that up. So yes, it was something I needed to know for my exam, but I did look that up. And we have separate income guidelines here. So right in here, if you just go to the Georgia WIC website, there's a lot of great information there for participants. It'll tell you right here, if you're pregnant, your household of two, yearly income can't be greater than $33,000, or $33,874, excuse me. And then they also have a monthly or weekly income. So that's one of the qualifications you need in order to receive WIC. You also need to be able to show proof of income. This is income, proof of residency. And a lot of times we look at the Medicaid information. So if you have Medicaid, you're adjunctively eligible. So we might have people that don't qualify based on income, but they have supplementary Medicaid because they have a child that maybe has special needs and they might qualify for WIC. So we do serve people that may not necessarily meet these requirements, but they have Medicaid. So they're welcome to join as well. And so income is one qualification, residency and ID. We do require you have some sort of ID. So that might be a driver's license or passport, birth certificate, social security. So those are our qualifications for someone who wants to get on WIC. And WIC itself has been around since 1972 as a pilot program. So I'm going to take a quick poll here. I can't see everyone. Does anyone know about WIC outside of being in school? Does anyone know anyone on WIC or know about WIC? And if you're putting into the chat, I can't see it because I'm sharing my screen. What about you, Blakely? How much have you guys really talked about WIC or nutrition assistance programs in general so far in your classes?
I do think we have talked about them, not a ton in depth, but we know of them, especially with life cycle nutrition, food policy, all that kind of stuff. We do talk about them, but not as in depth as how you're talking about it right now.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I mention it is because I have a sister that's almost 10 years younger than me. And when I told my dad that I was interested in working for WIC, he's like, you know, your sister was on that, right? It's like, no, I didn't know that. And so my sister and her mom's, my half sister, they were on WIC back in the early 80s. Yeah, early 80s. So it's been around. People know about it, but people really only know about it if they need the services or they work in the program. And it's really ironic because half of all babies, and I think this was the statistic I just read, they keep saying it, half of all babies qualify for WIC in the United States. So it is something that I do feel like the dietetics field needs to embrace more, especially because it's an alternative pathway. If you can't get into a CP program at a university, you could still get a master's outside of nutrition, but still go into a separate internship. The same with distance learning, you guys. Don't be afraid to do a distance learning internship if that opportunity is available. But anyways, let's go back to a little bit about the WIC origins. So 1972, it was a pilot program, and 75, they made it a federal program, so nationwide. And 78, that's when they really started requiring that nutrition education. So there's that public health good. So it's a little different than SNAP, right? So SNAP, you qualify, you do have certain things you have to do. I think there's a work requirement of 20 hours per week, depending on your your disability for taking care of children. But this nutrition education thing is very unique to WIC, this nutrition education. And then also uniqueness that we focus on foods that are low in sugar, low in fat, low in salt. So I'm thinking low fat milk. I'm thinking fruits and vegetables. You can get some yummy fruits and vegetables on WIC. And then we do a heck of a lot of referrals. That's a big part of what we do here is we are talking to the parents. We see them every 3 months, you guys. We might see them more than they go to the pediatrician, depending on how old the child is. And we talk to them about immunizations, alcohol and drug abuse prevention, child abuse counseling. So we really refer them. So if we see something or we think that there's a way that other agencies in the department may help, we do refer. So let me give you an example. So maybe I've got a 2-year-old running around in my office that is having a really hard time taking directions, is going through my drawers, throwing things down, and I'm talking to mom, and mom is saying that he is all rambunctious all the time, and he's not speaking well. He's 2. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, I wonder if this child needs some speech therapy, some developmental therapy. I might refer to our Children First program. So that's the premier program. Even hospital staff, schools will refer to Children First. So a lot of what we do is we really get to talk to the families. And if we see that there's a need, we refer them to other services in the health department. So WIC works in the health department setting. So there's a lot of interagency or intra-agency connections there. So we do a lot of that. In 92, we created this enhanced food package for exclusive breastfeeding moms. Yay. So that encourages people to get on the program as breastfeeding. So most people, if they know anything about WIC and they weren't on the program, what they know about WIC is they've worked in the grocery stores and they see those little checks for formula. That's what they know. Which, by the way, we're not on the checks anymore. We just got an EBT card. So that is I know, I know, we're all excited. So we have this card now. So it's going great. So far, I think participants are really enjoying it. And then in 2004, they introduced the peer counseling program, and the USDA introduced this program. This is the program that I run on a day-to-day basis. It's a separate budget. So in 92, they were really trying to focus on getting moms on the program as breastfeeding and supporting breastfeeding moms. 2004, they introduced this peer-to-peer program, which is for breastfeeding moms to get support from other breastfeeding moms. And in 2009, they enhanced those food packages again to match dietary guidelines, provide culturally sensitive substitutes, and we'll get into some of those when we talk about the foods offered on WIC. And then they added even more foods to exclusive breastfeeding moms. So why did the federal government really embrace WIC? Well, there was a lot of research to show that there was reductions in prematurity and low birth weights for low-income participants that were on WIC. They reduced the incidence of low iron anemia because that's a pretty common complication or a common issue with our low-income population. Also reductions in childhood obesity and high weight for length. And it increases access to healthcare with that referral, right? We were talking about how when we're in there with the family that we can really see what's going on and we might be able to provide them information about other services they may qualify for. And right here, I put early prenatal care. So that is something we do ask, have you seen the doctor yet since you found out you're pregnant? It's really important when you're pregnant that you do see the doctor at regular intervals to monitor your status. And in general, their studies show that it improves the diet quality for people who are on WIC because of that nutrition education, right? Spend a lot of time talking about that. Any questions so far? Any questions in the chat, Blakely, because I can't see the chat, so please let me know.
I'll let you know, but no questions right now.
Okay. How's my pacing? Am I going too fast?
No, you're doing great.
Not an auctioneer, Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. We're about halfway done. I wanted to leave some time for questions. So let's go into more about the benefits. So when people come to sign up for WIC and they have their first appointment, we call that a certification that lasts for a year. They speak to our clerical representative. They move forward and speak to a nutritionist, potentially a peer counselor. So that's a breastfeeding mom offering other breastfeeding mom support and prenatal mom support in breastfeeding. And in exchange, when they're finished with their appointment, they now get this wonderful card, not these little vouchers. If you've worked at Kroger and you see these little paper vouchers, now they get a card. And in exchange, what's loaded on the card, they get access to low-fat dairy, also soy milk, right? If we have people that don't drink milk. Lactate is an option. They get lactose-free milk. Yogurt, we just added that on the Georgia program a few years ago. When I started, we didn't have yogurt, and then the next year we got yogurt. Whole grains, so pasta is new, but you can get brown rice as well. Cereal, and it's WIC-approved cereal, but the WIC-approved cereal is not bad. It's decent cereal. Eggs, you get some money for some fresh fruits and veggies, but you can also buy canned or frozen, but it just can't have that added salt, right? No added salt or fat because that's not very nutritious, and we're a nutrition program. We do have canned fish, so you can get tuna or salmon, but you see that little note here, it's only for exclusive breastfeeding moms. Okay, so let's put our dietitian hats on. Why would our exclusive breastfeeding moms get canned fish and not and maybe formula mommies wouldn't? Anyone want to take a stab in the dark? Okay, well, the reason is because iron is not well, it's not a lot in the excuse me, it's not a lot in the breast milk. And when they start getting to 6 months, when infants start getting to 6 months, you do want to introduce those iron-rich foods. But also, when you're pregnant and breastfeeding, your iron needs increase. So you need that extra iron. It's really important. So we do provide that canned fish for our exclusive breastfeeding moms. We also do canned meat for infants that are exclusive breastfeeding, meaning no formula. So that's why. And then we do have beans or peanut butter as well on the program and tofu. So there's that culturally sensitive addition that they added. Every now and then we do get moms that want tofu, you guys. It does happen. I like tofu. So, any questions about the benefits to participants that are eating solids? Okay. All right, moving right along. So if you do get formula, we will tailor it. So if you're breastfeeding half the time and doing formula the other half, we only offer you what you need. We don't try to give mom all the formula that we offer if they're breastfeeding, just to encourage the breastfeeding. But the contract right now is with Infamil, so Infamil Infant, Infamil Gentilese, Infamil Prosobi, and we did just add Infamil AR. That's a formula with added rice starch. You used to have a medical prescription for that, but we did change those requirements, or the state. I say me, but that wasn't me. So those are our options. The contract, I think, is renewed or we change it every 5 years. When I started in WIC back in 2017, we were with Gerber. And then I found out from some people who've been in the program longer than me, they were with Similac for 10 years. So you might go across the pond, go across state lines. Florida might have a totally different contract. Alabama might have a totally different contract. It's a contract, so it's a bid. We put the bid out, and I guess whoever offers the state the best rate, that's what they go for. So formula is formula is formula. That's all I'm going to say about that, but I'm in breastfeeding, so maybe you talk to someone who knows more about formula and they'll be able to tell you, but really, formula is formula. All right. We do offer infant foods, so if you look on the right side, we have different things like beech nut and Gerber. And here's that infant meat up at the top. Those are only for exclusive breastfeeding infants that need that iron. So when you're on formula, most of the formula is iron-rich fortified. So they have their iron requirements. When you're not on formula, it's important to start with those cereals, those meats, the dark leafy greens when infants are introduced to foods to help with the iron. Okay. And some other services. Now we're getting into the breastfeeding support. So there's that peer counseling program we mentioned that was introduced in 2004. So this is a separate budget for moms to support moms with breastfeeding. So what research has found is that breastfeeding moms learn best from other breastfeeding moms. And it makes a lot of sense because breastfeeding is natural. It's what we're supposed to do. It's what we're all born knowing how to do. So when you bring in all the clinical stuff, it doesn't always translate well, and it's almost makes it seem a little bit more difficult in some ways. So the research really supported moms learning about breastfeeding from other breastfeeding moms. So that program was introduced in 2004, and we do have certain requirements. So really, there's not a lot of requirements, but you have to have breastfed a mom for 6 months. You have to have had personal WIC experience because it is a WIC. It's a WIC parallel program. We have our own budget, but you have to have been a previous or current WIC participant. And just be enthusiastic about breastfeeding. So that's really it to be a peer counselor, and it's really rewarding. And I'm so proud that I can be a part of that program and mentor our peer counselors here, but I still also do a heck of a lot of breastfeeding education and pump education, a lot of breast pump education. But other benefits with breastfeeding outside of the peer counseling program, well, we talked a little bit about those enhanced food packages that was introduced in the early 90s, and then in 2009 they added more enhancements. So what do I mean by enhancements? Well, normal participants that are not exclusive breastfeeding, they get 1 dozen eggs. Breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding moms, they get 2 dozen eggs. So you get more food. And then, in addition to that, if you're a mom that is exclusive breastfeeding or taking very little formula, you can keep your foods on your package, your little card now, up into a year. So when the baby turns 1 and we introduce solids on the package, moms don't get any more benefits. But you don't get that if you're taking all formula from WIC. So at 6 months, they don't get any more food benefits for themselves, just for the infant. And then lastly, some other services we offer to our breastfeeding moms. We do have access to free breast pumps here. Now, we still have policies we have to follow, but we do have those here. And our contract is with Medela. I don't know if our contract has ever been with any other company, pump company. This is the only one that I've been aware of since here, but in theory, I guess it could be a different company. And then this is talking a little bit about our referral programs. So we talked about the Children First program. We have some other programs here, the Babies Can't Wait program, which is similar to the Children's First program. Safe Kids, Children's Medical Services. Of course, we're a health department, so we offer immunizations. Healthy Start, this is a really great program. Not all health departments have this, but we have this. So this program is very similar to the peer counseling program. It does caseload management for moms that are prenatal, that live in a certain area, and that are Black or African American. So what we find is that the prematurity rate and low birth weight is worse for our ladies of color. So if you meet these qualifications and you're looking for support and caseload management, you can join the Healthy Start program. And these ladies also have breastfeeding training, and they also give away free supplies. Like I've seen them give away diapers and pack and plays. So it's a really great program for people who qualify for it. They offer additional support. And then we do have the farmers market program as well. We do that in the summer. We give participants extra money to buy fresh fruits and vegetables right there at the facility where the farmer is. Just like if you were going to your local farmers market, we do give that to our participants. And it's really great to let the little kids kind of go and talk to the farmer and pick out their fruits and vegetables. So we do that every summer. All right, and how to refer participants. So if you have someone and they're on Medicaid, they're low income, they're looking for some breastfeeding help, they're looking for help with fruits and vegetables, have them come to Cobb Douglas WIC. We have our call center right here. If you know they're in Fulton County or DeKalb or another county outside of Cobb and Douglas, just Google that health department. There's probably a WIC out of that service, and you just refer those participants. So when you guys get out in the field, when you're practicing dietitians, practicing nutritionists, and you have someone and you can see they're struggling with breastfeeding, they're struggling with getting access to food, refer them to WIC. You'd be surprised on who qualifies, and it's a great program. See, it helps so many people. And our county, we have 5 health departments, and we provide WIC in every single one of them. And there's that gateway link right there. And I did have some sources. I wasn't just speaking out of nowhere. Any questions? I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Feel free to unmute yourself, share your screen. Hi, Annabelle. Oh, Hannah, you finally showed your face. That's wonderful. Yay, Hannah's brave, guys. Show your face. It's okay.
Sorry, I was commuting to campus, so
Oh, yeah.
you would have just seen me from like this angle the whole time.
Yeah, Blakely and I were talking about that when I went to Georgia State. So I graduated in 2017, you guys, when Barbara Hopkins was still there. I don't know if she was kind of a legend when she was there, you guys. I don't know if she still does any. She was our M&T teacher. She was wonderful, but I think she retired from working at Georgia State the year that I graduated. But I spent an hour and a half in the car or on the train, Hannah, when I went to school at Georgia State, because my parents lived in Walton County. So, oh yeah.
I do have a couple of questions for you.
Yay, questions.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the internship.
Yeah, it was really informative. I feel like in this program, I'm in the PhD program, but I feel like as an undergraduate, they cover WIC and like the very basics of it, but they don't get into a lot of details. So that was
Yeah. So what
really
program?
interesting.
I don't mean to cut you off. You said that so fast. Which one again? P something something?
I'm in the nutrition PhD program.
Nutrition PhD, like in your
Mhm.
doctorate. Good for
Yes,
you,
yeah,
Hannah.
thank you.
Good for you.
So my first question is, how is WIC dealing with like the uh, supply shortage of
With
formula
formula?
right now? Yeah, and are you
Great
seeing like
question.
more mothers want to breastfeed because of it?
So I definitely have my breastfeeding coordinator here and my nutrition service director. I'm going to answer how I'm going to answer, but keep in mind I'm in breastfeeding. So I have my dietetics, and I did spend my first 3 years just on the nutrition side. So I had a lot more formula experience during that time. I still have a little bit here, but what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, what the state's been doing is they have been extending waivers for special prescriptions. So we used to have 6 months as a limit. Now we're doing a year. So we don't have to keep going back and forth for prescriptions. And they've also allowed a lot more formula to be on without having a prescription. So for example, remember how we talked about Infamil Infant, Infamil Persobi, Infamil Gentilese as being what was in the contract? They removed the requirement that you needed a contract for AR. That's huge. When I started in WIC, I'd probably get an AR prescription, I don't know, every other week. Ladies, that's a very common one. So they removed that restriction, and they also are allowing other formulas to be okay to purchase if you can't find any. So, for example, Infamil Infant NeuroPro, that is a little different than regular Infamil Infant. So they have updated what is approved, and I think the way that they're printing it is you have a little bit more options. But I'm going to have Shanika and Elisa speak to that just because I'm in breastfeeding. But is that pretty much right, ladies? What the state's done is they've kind of extended the prescriptions and allowed more options to be used. If
Yeah, and Elisa may be able to describe even more, but yeah, pretty much. And it's actually in prescription, it's the medical documentation forms that they're going to
yes,
carefully,
correct.
yeah, rather than called a prescription. But yeah, a lot more flexibility there. Whatever they can find at the store, we're breaking down packages to we've broken down packages to single on those vouchers. It was like single cans, whatever they're able to
Yes.
find, um, rather than 8 on one voucher. But now we're just shifted over to the card. So anything more, Lisa? Because you from the working with the state directly.
Yeah, you guys covered it for the most part. So just to give everyone else kind of an idea of how our vouchers used to work, they were literal pieces of paper, and each piece of paper said exactly what they were able to purchase. So when the participant was in the clinic with us, we would decide whether they needed a standard type of formula or a lactose reduced or a plant-based or whatever. And then it would say exactly on the piece of paper, 5 cans of Enfamil infant powder or concentrate or whatever. And so as you can imagine, with the formula shortage, people were having a lot of trouble finding exactly what was on the voucher on the shelf. And so more recently, since Enfamil wasn't able to keep up their end of the contract by proving that they had enough formula for everybody on the shelves, the state was allowed to expand. And so through the end of December of this year, our participants are able to get, like Lindsey and Shanika said, the store brands of formula, and basically anything that they can find as long as it's, the type of formula that the baby needs. So yeah, we're really grateful for that flexibility, and we are seeing an improvement in that supply. So we're really grateful for that. That was a really, really tough thing to adjust to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes.
bet. I know like it was sold out at stores and they were keeping it up by the front check lane so that people couldn't buy more. So I assumed that would be an issue for you guys. And Lindsey, because of this, are you seeing an increase in breastfeeding mothers or?
Yes, definitely more interest in relactation.
Yeah.
So there's a huge, and we're blessed in our counties, Cobb and Douglas County, most women that sign up for our program want to breastfeed. Now, that may not necessarily mean exclusive breastfeeding, but they want to breastfeed. And if you guys dive deep into breastfeeding, I hope they offer a lactation elective. Blakely, I want you to get back with Dr. Wanders and tell her to do a breastfeeding. And if they need a co-teacher, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to offer some guidance. But because really that's the first food we should all eat. Don't know why dietetics don't take more of an interest in breastfeeding. I really don't. I remember one thing about it in college, and I'm going to move forward from now to get back to your question, Hannah. But yes, definitely more interest in relactation. But to touch on some counseling tips, this is always something that WIC nutritionists are supposed to do. If we have formula and if we give formula to participants, you always want to ask them, well, how are you preparing that formula? Let's talk about how to prepare that formula, because you'll have people that don't read the directions, or they want to stretch the formula. You cannot do that. The way they've made the formula is the way that you're supposed to do it is 2 ounces of water, 1 scoop of powder. That 1 scoop of powder is supposed to have all the nutrients that the baby is not getting, because they're not doing breast milk. So if you're not mixing that formula correctly, you might be causing digestive problems with the infant, because if you're making it too thick, that can happen. You might be going through the formula too quickly, but also the nutrients are not balancing with what the infant needs. So we always want to talk about how are you preparing that formula. And formula it's not safe all the time. They make it as safe as they can, but it's not like breast milk. So we have people that don't want to heat the water. You heat the water to kill any bacteria in the powder. It's not because the water is unsafe most of the time. It's because the powder, like just if you're doing powdered coffee, it's a powdered substance. So it's really about that educating part. So that is something we talk about. A lot of parents, they'll overfeed too, Hannah. They'll give a newborn baby's belly is this big. It's this big. So we might have people that want to give the infant 3 or 4 ounces, and the baby was normal birth weight, 6 pounds, 7 pounds. Start out with small ounces and pay attention to those hunger cues. So do not use a bottle proppers. There's still those on Amazon. I've seen them. But you do not walk away. You do not put a bottle underneath the baby and walk away, because it's choke or die. That's really what it is. So a lot of what we do is just simple education. Simple education like we've always done, even during the pandemic. And breastfeeding was recommended even if you had COVID. What they recommended doing, though, was having the mom cover her mask, maybe pump. So breast milk was still recommended. They didn't say stop breastfeeding. So some people just forgot all of those things. But definitely more interest in relactation over the last 2 years. Yes.
Thank you.
What other questions? Anybody? Any questions about the WIC program? And I will talk about the internship, because I know that Blakely and I wanted to talk a little bit about the dietetic internship, right? Okay. All right, let me pull up. So first I'm going to show you where to go so you guys can explore more. And then I did make a little Canva. So use Canva if you haven't used Canva. I didn't know about Canva. We talked about this last time, Blakely and I. I didn't know about Canva when I was in college. I didn't find out about Canva until the internship, actually. So that was fun stuff. So let me share my screen. All right. So this is open to the public. If you're interested in learning more, I'm going to do a little breakdown. But you can just Google Georgia WIC Dietetic Internship, and it will take you to this page. And the current class started in August of this year, and they'll end if they ended like I did, they'll end in July of next year. So as you can see, there's a lot of documents to review. And it's a real internship. So some people think that the WIC internship is easier than like your traditional clinical internship. It's not. I would say it's sometimes harder, but I only went through this one. So you only you get released from your regular job 3 days a week. So you still have to do your regular job 2 days a week. And then the other 3 days you go through the internship. And then you are expected to do some assignments outside of the internship on your personal time. And it depends on the rotation. So the rotation where you spend most of your time is in community nutrition. So if you're interested in not going so clinical, this is a great program for you. So I had no interest. I didn't apply for DICUS. I didn't look at distance learning. I had a good science GPA, 3.98. I just didn't want to work in a hospital. You will not find me in a hospital. I have no interest in that. So I really enjoy community nutrition. I'm even interested in corporate nutrition or anything else but clinical.
Mhm.
So this has a focus in community nutrition, and it's great. They give you a lot of opportunities to grow, and you learn more about the WIC program, and you learn more about the other agencies like the Children First, the Healthy Start program, the Babies Can't Wait program in the health department. So it's great. So you spend the first 6 months doing that, and then you do food service. We all have to do food service. And I ended up in Douglas County Schools, where I was in their school nutrition department. A lot of what I did was actually social media. So that social media class that you guys were talking about, believe it or not, I had to post on Instagram about the school lunches. That was an assignment I had. I had to send out monthly newsletter bulletins to all of I think I had 19 schools in that county. It was something around there. And I had to do a little blurb about National Breakfast Week. This is what because National Nutrition Month was during that March month. So I had to do that. And I did some, I think, acceptability reports. So they have a lot of reports they use about how many people are using the free and reduced lunch programs. So when you do your food service rotation, at least when I did it in WIC, it was in the school nutrition department in Douglasville County. So we had that. And then I did, of course, have clinical because that is a requirement. And the way that I did it, I did a lot of case studies because of the virus and everything that was going on. But it was still a great program. And we did A-dimes. We had monthly A-dimes and other little assignments that we had to do, modules. So it was a lot. And my favorite thing about the internship was the internship director. Her name is Rhonda Tankersley. She is great. She is like a personal hero, personal mentor of mine. I probably called her every day I had an internship question. Like, she is wonderful. So I encourage you to get with some mentors as well if you're looking for the best internship that you want to apply for. But do keep WIC in the back of your mind, because even though it felt harder to me because you're still working 2 days a week and you have to like wrap your brain around, okay, internship day, not internship day, internship day, not internship day. WIC pays your salary. You get paid all your salary, and you get your leave at the end. You get all that months of leave you haven't used. So that's a benefit, and you don't pay anything. So that's the other thing. Maybe I should lead with that, right, Elisa? It's free. This internship is free. It's free. So when I was in school, they told me a regular internship was $10,000. I said, no, I'm not paying $10,000 so I can live with my parents another 2 years. No, I'm moving out. I'm getting a job and moving out. So I don't know if you guys are in the same boat. I wanted to get out. So a free internship. And then once you do your internship, you're in a contract and you do have to work another 2 years to pay it back, but you don't owe anything up front. You don't owe. So it's very affordable if you guys are looking to move on with your life. If you're looking to move on with your life, I highly recommend this internship, and it can be very clinical. So I will say this, WIC can be as clinical as you make it. We do anthropometrics. When you get your dietetics, even when you don't get your dietetics, we note an A-dime if you have a high-risk participant. We do breastfeeding conferences. We have annual WIC retreats. So we get all of the holidays off. So Friday, I'm off because it's Veterans Day. You get a lot more leave when you come work for the health department than you do for a hospital. So that is something I just really think about your work-life balance, you guys. This is the time to where you set your work hard, but think about where you want to be. Like, do I want to focus on clinical? Do I really want that hospital life? Do I really want to focus on public health nutrition, and I can make it as clinical as I want to because there are pathways for that. So just think about that. And then I'll share this real quick, and I can email this to you, Blakely. Anything I can email, you just let me know, and you can share that with people that attended or didn't have a chance to attend. Ooh, this is huge. So the first requirement, can you see my screen? Thumbs up, thumbs up. I can't see. Can you guys see this real quick?
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Yay, yay. Okay. So you do have to work for WIC for 2080 full-time equivalents or hours, right? So that's 1 year of full-time employment or 2 years of part-time employment. You do have to get letters from your health director, your nutrition service director. You do have to submit a performance evaluation document. So we do our performance evaluations every 6 months. You do have to submit your last performance evaluation. You have to get a signed community preceptor agreement. And this, of course, has changed, right? So this is the last year that you could have gone through the internship without the master's, because the academy is changing that requirement. So you will have to have a master's. Here's another thing. So this GPA requirement for the Georgia WIC program is not as high as, say, what you might need for more of a traditional hospital-based GPA. The GPA is 2.8 at a minimum. So if you know that GPA is not your strongest suit, this might be an option for you. And even if you have less, there are pathways where you can take some classes and get your GPA up. And there's a separate application you have to fill out. You have to write a personal statement. You have to do a project, which the project is, it's a paper. And the way that I did it was I wanted to find out, I kind of looked at some research of people who received breastfeeding education over the phone versus breastfeeding education online. I wanted to see if the people who got breastfeeding education over the phone, that was my hypothesis, actually came back and certified as breastfeeding. And guess what? There was not a statistically significant difference between the two. And I'm not surprised. I'm actually not surprised, because the ladies in our community really prefer in-person education. But other ladies in different communities, you say Gwinnett, they might prefer that online breastfeeding class. So it really depends on your community. But that was my project. I had to submit a 1-page resume. Of course, I had to submit my verification statement. College transcripts, definitely. And I had to get 3 recommendations, 1 from a professor, 2 from supervisors, and I had to have a signed dietetic internship contract. So those were all the application requirements. It probably took me a couple months to do this, if I'm being honest. I did it on and off. And then the way that the structure was when I took it, we started in mid-August. We ended around the end of July, and we talked about how you'd be released from your regular duties 3 days a week, but you still have to do your job 2 days a week. Your assigned preceptors, they acted as your mentors, and they graded your assignments, most of your assignments. Now, the internship director, she might grade a few every now and then, but it was mostly your preceptors. And our clinical modules started in August. We had case studies starting in September all the way to June. We did have to log our hours. I will say towards the end of it, we didn't have to log our hours on paper. We just had to do it on this iComp system. So we had 504 practice hours for community rotation. It was around the same for clinical. 408 for clinical and 192 for food service. So we started with community, and that ended in January. And then we moved to food service, which was the end of January to about mid-March. And then at the end of March to mid-July, that's when we started our clinical rotation. And we graduated in July of this year. So here are some expectations or some things you might also need to have. So you're going to have to be ServSafe certified. You'll have to have membership with the academy, valid driver's license, health insurance, immunizations. You want to make sure that you know the immunizations required for the internship, and you'll have to be CPA certified or basic life support certified. And it's really important to be good about your time management. Most of this program is self-study based. So yes, we have our preceptors. Yes, we had the internship director, but it's, okay, here's your curriculum, now go do it. So it's not like in college, where they give you the curriculum, you show up for class and they teach you. It's not a lot of that. It's a lot of, if you don't know something, you're looking it up on your own, and then you're asking questions. Okay, I found this, but I need some help with this. So it's really important to have those time management skills worked on and know ahead of time, like, okay, I'm going to block out this time to study or this time to work on stuff. All right, what questions do you guys have about the WIC dietetic internship, the RDN exam, anything? Okay. Okay.
It's very well done, Lindsay.
Thank you,
You covered
Shanika.
it quite well. Very
Thank you.
straight in order.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Alrighty.
Lindsay. I have
Thank you.
more of a comment on WIC in general.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that they offered culturally sensitive food options.
Yes, girl. You know,
Yeah,
DeKalb is like the most culturally diverse city in the nation, right? I don't know anyone
yeah,
from DeKalb. DeKalb, they have so many different languages. We were on a call, Shanika and I were on a call with the DeKalb coordinator yesterday, and she said that sometimes they have difficulty translating for their breastfeeding class because they have so many different people that speak different languages. Oh yeah, we even have goat milk. I didn't put that on there.
wow, yeah,
We used to have low fat goat milk, but the manufacturer doesn't even make it anymore. So we have refugees on the program. And here's something I didn't mention. You do not have to be a United States citizen to qualify for WIC. We do not check. If you notice those requirements, income, residency, ID. So we help those people that go, those migrants, those refugees that kind of go under the radar, and we still want to serve those children. We still want to serve those mommies because we know that nutritious food and nutrition education keeps them healthy and out of the hospital. So in the long run, if they're coming, we want to serve them. We want to provide those services. And it also keeps us in business, right? Shanika, Elisa, when our caseload drops, they furlough us. They cut our jobs. So people think if they think, oh, I'm only going to use this for formula. I don't really want to go in for the services anymore when my baby turns 1 and they give foods because I don't really need it and I don't want to take the services away from other people. That's not really how it works. We want people, even if they're just going to use the cash value vouchers, we want them to come in for those services or those benefits now on the card, right? I got to get out of the mindset. We just moved to the card on October, you guys, just a few weeks ago.
wow, yeah.
And I was here for 5 years on the paper vouchers, so I got to get out of that. But that is not how it works. So we do know that if every single person who qualified for WIC got on WIC, we probably wouldn't be able to serve them. But we're on the opposite right now. We have so many people that need the services and they don't come back because those paper vouchers are cumbersome. A lot of young mommies, they feel really uncomfortable going to the grocery stores. So we hope the card is going to bring them back. But also people have to get out of this mindset. I'm not going to use all of my benefits, so I don't want to take them away from other people. That's really not how the program works. Not really.
Yeah.
So every time you use that benefit, it adds to our caseload and we stay in business. We stay employed.
Okay.
Yeah, goat milk, tofu. What else? Anything else? Tortillas. We offer tortillas now. Frijoles, I think you can get refried beans if there's not lard on them on the program. So yeah, culturally sensitive, definitely. Yep. And we do a lot of continuing education. For what community internship is most counseling done? Great question. Okay. For the internship, well, when you're in your community internship, Gladys, great question. You mostly do work in WIC, and it depends on your assignment. So a lot of my assignments were not necessarily counseling, they were more on the management side. So when you move up in WIC and you become a manager, you don't do as much counseling with the patients, but you do higher paperwork. You do training for staff, mentoring opportunities for staff, auditing staff, which when you become a manager, people lose their minds, you guys. So if you take a management job, there might be an adjustment for a year. There might be an adjustment. It's not easy. Management is not easy, but it can be rewarding. So we did a patient flow analysis, Gladys. That was one assignment. I did some outreach, just like I'm doing now. So those documents that you saw, I created them for internship assignments. That was an assignment. I think I did have to do an ADIME assignment where I think I had to review, and Elisa was my preceptor. I don't remember so many of my assignments that were specifically counseling patients. They were more about the management side of WIC.
Really?
Yeah, Elisa, am I remembering that right? It was a minute ago. It was last summer when I was in that internship. But yeah, it was more about management. I rewrote job descriptions, which these are all things you'll need to know for your test, y'all. That's that domain 3. So start thinking in terms of when you're in your courses, where would this fit in my test? and make some precise notes, because you might be surprised. You might go back and look at your notes when you're studying for that exam. But the job description stuff, the HR stuff, what motivates employees, those are test questions in domain 3. So yeah, you see, I had to know all that stuff. Yes. And then let me just touch on the regular certification process. When you talk to patients, it depends on what the county is doing. So some counties are doing the whole thing again without COVID restrictions. So we normally do anthropometrics. Like I said, it can be clinical. So you bring a client back or a participant back. It might be a pregnant mom and her 2-year-old child. You bring them back to your office, height and weight, hemoglobin. We check their hemoglobin. So we prick fingers, we prick toes. You do that. So that's kind of clinical. So if you're looking for that clinical route, don't just think WIC is not an opportunity for that, because it is. You can make it clinical. So you do that.
For the counseling part, that in order to be a part of this internship, you do have to be a WIC nutritionist for a full year beforehand.
Correct.
So you're getting plenty of that counseling during that year, and then during the 2 days a week that you're still doing your regular job.
It's true.
Full of counseling. Yeah.
Yes, and ideally it's in person, Gladys. Ideally. Now, because of COVID, we've had that waiver in place. We haven't been seeing clients in the building. And the way that our district has been doing it, most of that counseling is done by phone. I do know, I want to say it's Gordon County. Elisa might be able to tell me. I do know there was one nutritionist. They were doing video counseling. They were sending them a link. I guess they're still doing that. I haven't talked to that lady because she was at an internship and she told me that her county was doing that. So it really depends on the county, but ideally it's in person. That counseling is in person ideally. Just because of COVID, we haven't been doing it in person as much. Hopefully that answered your question. But let me know and I can describe it a different way. Yes, great. More questions? Any more questions, you guys? We have exactly 3 minutes, but I can go over if I need to. Okay. All right. Well, Blakely, do you have any more questions for me?
No, but I would like you to send me those beautiful things so I could send them to the people who didn't come today. Yeah. Yay.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, Gladys. I'm glad. Yes. And just when you look at the one that talks about Georgia WIC Dietetic Internship 101, I can't even speak, right? Just notice where it says DPD bachelor's, that the requirement is a master's now, but we all know that because the academy is requiring the master's now. Yes, of course. You're welcome, Erica. Thank you. Thank you. I love to speak, as you guys can see. I like to talk. So, okay, I'll send you an email, Blakely, and then feel free to share my contact information. We do have open positions in our county. I know we've got a couple of nutrition ones open. So when you graduate, if you need a year off or you're looking to start your hours to qualify for the WIC internship, please remember Cobb and Douglas WIC. It's a great place to work. Lots of client-centered counseling, and you don't have to pay for this internship. You just have to qualify.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let me know if you need anything else. Wonderful meeting everybody. You're welcome, Fanta. Or Fanta. Either way, I hope